living in all the places you are from, you are welcome here. With all of the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here. No matter how long you are away, nor how soon you will return, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your hearts or tears, you are welcome here. May the music in your heart join with the music in this sacred space to lift your spirits this morning. You are invited to join us with a curious mind, a loving heart, and a willing spirit. We welcome you today. We commit ourselves to being a center for spiritual exploration and justice making, and to anti-racism and anti-oppression work within and well beyond our congregation. If you're new here, we're glad you found us, and we hope that in this community, whether you're with us in person or virtually, you can experience the warmth and love of this fellowship. Please come back a few times to really get to know us. Those on Zoom can check out the links in the chat to help you get connected. Those in person can stop by the welcome table in the foyer for fellowship information and a newcomer form. It's also on the QR code in the back of the hymnal, because we are high tech around here. Everyone on Zoom is welcome to stay for casual conversation following the service. If you're here in person, you're welcome to coffee hour in the fellowship hall. And we're going to have announcements at the beginning of the service today. So here's an exciting update on this year's pledge drive. Together, we've invested $461,682 in Boulder Valley's future. That's 99% of our goal of $465,000, and pledges continue to come in, including some increases. So a huge thank you from co-chairs Jean Cannella and Wendy Highsmith, aka Rosie and Rhonda Riveter. Yeah. Those of you who would like to learn more about this fellowship and our UU faith will want to come to our Inquirers series that meets here in the sanctuary 15 minutes after the service. Today will be a campus tour. Next week, we'll learn about UU history, principles, and values. And tonight, the Islamic Center of Boulder is holding a special event. Visitors are invited to join them for an evening of reflections on Ramadan and Gaza, then dinner after sundown. There are still seats available. See me after the service for a link to sign up. Lucy and I are going. It should be very interesting. And Tad has a little announcement. I don't think we told you about this, Larry, so here's the mic.
Yeah? All right, good. Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to let you know, if you haven't seen, that my wife Emily and I are giving our recital this coming Saturday afternoon, April 13th at 2 p.m. And the recital, we're calling it Resilience. And it's composed of 3 sets of music, and each set tells the story of some kind of hardship, adversity, challenge, and the traveling through that and eventually overcoming that, even triumphing at the end. I wanted to just tell you a little bit about some of these 3 cycles. The first cycle that we're going to do is written by an Austrian composer, Korngold, who had to flee Europe during World War II, and he came and he settled in Los Angeles and became a film composer. And the music is a really fascinating blend of like high romantic Brahms with like American jazz. It's really interesting stuff. Another set we're doing is by the poetry of Olga Bergholz, who was a Soviet writer who read her poetry over the radio to people during World War II as well in Leningrad to offer them comfort and hope and resilience. So the second cycle is a lot of these poems that were read to her country people during that terrible time. And our final set is, the text is taken from a diary, a first-person account of living through a pandemic. And this piece was published in 2020, and in this text, you hear all just stories of different reactions, how some people are scared, some people don't take it seriously, some people get sick, some people don't. And it's all one person's account, and it's actually from the 1918 flu pandemic. But the similarities that you hear in reaction and perspective and experience are fascinating to compare to what we just went through. So I invite you to come, 2 p.m. on Saturday. Hope to see you there. We'll be joined by an excellent violinist and cellist as well on one of the sets. So tickets are available in a variety of ways. Connections Weekly. I'll send out an email. There are posters. Go to our website. Thank you.
And now we'll light our chalice. Yes. If you have a chalice at home, you can light it with us as we light our fellowship chalice. Please say the words along with me. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
And now I'll sing our bowl again, and as you listen to the sound, let it allow you to draw deeper into the present moment and into our beloved community. Good morning. One of the joys of being a Unitarian Universalist is that we are constantly in search of new understandings, ethical, spiritual, social, etc. Today, Eric and I are presenting such personal explorations centered around the musical term polyphony as a useful metaphor for the way our peculiar faith works. Polyphony, meaning many voices, is the interweaving of two or more distinct individual melodies within a single musical piece. It was a technique popular in the Renaissance and Baroque periods. I'll use that term as a way of describing our UU faith in practice during my reflection. In his reflection, which comes second, Eric will illuminate the challenges he once found when trying to follow one single melody in our global songscape during a particular Ramadan, which he experienced some years ago. As collaborators, we too will present our thinking in counterpoint. Finally, we are fortunate that Tad and our musicians will transform our words into spirit. So, do listen to this fugue by Bach for the way separate melodies come together in polyphony.
So this is a fugue that Bach wrote originally for organ, and it's for 4 voices. So originally, 3 voices were covered by the hands, and the 4th voice would have been covered by the feet on the pedal board. But Aaron gets to play the part of the feet today. And you'll hear there's one, when you're talking about fugues, there's one voice that's usually a little more prominent, and it's called the subject. And that subject comes back in different forms and at different times by different voices in different parts. And along with that subject, there are counter subjects that are written in counterpoint that kind of play off this subject. So you'll hear, I'll just play for you the subject of this fugue so you can hear what it sounds like. That's it. So listen for that. You'll hear it just popping up here and there. Sometimes Aaron gets it, sometimes I have it in my right hand, my left hand comes in different intervals. It's fun.
Or Brahman is both near and far. Or faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Metaphors can be useful by inviting us to re-examine what we might be taking for granted, to give us a new frame for an old picture. That's another metaphor. We can be jolted out of stereotypical thinking by jettisoning an old image. I remember those olden days when America was described as a melting pot. Do you? However, in 1963, Mrs. Glazer at Alice Deal Junior High School in D.C. shocked our callow 8th grade class by saying, "That metaphor doesn't really work. We don't all merge together to become one thing in this free country. Rather, America is a tapestry. We might see a big picture, but each individual thread that makes it up is an immigrant from a different country, or a Native American, I think she said Indian, from separate tribes who were here first. Each thread is distinct and interesting on its own. Go Mrs. Glaser. A few weeks ago, I was listening to the Bach Concerto for 2 violins in D minor, played by the Boulder Bach Festival. I heard 2 masterful violinists bring 2 separate melodies together in Bach's interweaving of Baroque complexity that was breathtaking, constantly surprising, even though it's a well-known piece. I naturally thought of the music I've heard in this beautiful space, like today. And then, of course, I had an idea for a Sunday service. Service associates do that sort of thing, really. So here's a musical metaphor I can offer to think about when you are embarked on your own free and responsible search for truth and meaning, according to our 4th UU principle. Unitarian Universalism is polyphony. No, not cacophony, except maybe during coffee hour. We are, in fact, polyphonic. Many sounds, many melodies, each distinct, but interwoven. We work in counterpoint, interdependent, but also independent in our faith. Perhaps we can say we're like the dawn chorus of English birds that we played for you before the service, each singing a unique song, but glorious melodic when together. Just look at our name and our origins. Unitarian plus Universalist. Distinct melodies in our theological composition. While both rose from Protestant Christianity, each historically brought a different flavor to the faith tradition we are a part of. Unitarians, those 16th century heretics, were stubborn readers of biblical scriptures who said, quote, well, my quote, "Clearly there's no Trinity. It's not in the Bible. Nor is original sin, predestination, nor biblical literalness. Oh, and Jesus wasn't God." No wonder they were taken to the fires in Europe. These days, there are separate British, American, Canadian, non-Trinitarian, international Unitarian groups, but we are uniformly liberal, free-thinking. As for the Universalists, also Christian, the centerpiece of their belief was a conviction that all humans will achieve salvation, even non-Christians, because hell is an impossibility, since God is love. Ah, those metaphors. So in 1961 in the USA, these 2 progressive Christian groups joined together to raise up intellectual freedom, inclusive love, and, practically speaking, their membership numbers. Thus, the Universalist Church of America, established in 1793, combined with the American Unitarian Association, established in 1825. It was during an era of religious polyphony. Ask for our scripture, there is none. Or maybe Mary Oliver's poems. Our symbols are the flaming chalice and the question mark. Our creed, absolutely none. But we recognize our own song when we hear us singing it together. We UUs blend multiple voices, distinct ones, distinct beliefs or religious practices, but we blend them together in a melodic mixture to create a musical blend, both in ourselves as individuals and as a larger community of participants in Sunday services, of social justice projects, of discussion groups, so on. In one single fellowship we have, that I know of, practicing pagans, Buddhists, Hindus, theists, and deists, and that's just mentioning those that we have centered recent services around. Yom Kippur, Bodhi Day, walking the Camino, another metaphor. The spring equinox, Ram Dass's exhortation to be here now. Last week, Reverend Terry combined Christian Easter with the International Transgender Day of Visibility, both powerful celebrations of renewal and hope. But wait, there's more. While I think of the musical metaphor of polyphony is a good one, sometimes the melodies we listen to aren't really listened to because we have played them too often. I think there are more melodies we need to hear. Our congregation probably holds many members and friends for whom other religious traditions still form an important part of their individual or perhaps family practices, their searches for truth and meaning. As a fellowship, we have raised up many theistic or deistic world religions. But have we sung to the agnostics and atheists among us? I think we should. The long Unitarian tradition of religious humanism is being explored currently in a discussion group that meets early on Sundays. But where have all the humanist services gone, long time passing? Finally, we should consider the third Abrahamic religion. Our School of the Spirit has been learning about Islam during this holy month of Ramadan. Yet in our Sunday services, we have not been listening to the global melody of nearly 2 billion of our neighbors, fasting from before dawn and then breaking their fast each evening. This Tuesday evening, April 9th, begins the feast of Eid al-Fitr, the final breaking of that month-long period of fasting, and a worldwide celebration of family and community. It is a joyous time of togetherness. I feel we should feel drawn to listen to that powerful international song, even if we don't sing it ourselves, out of our respect for the very different beliefs. And Eric will speak to that challenge. So here I leave my metaphor. Unitarian Universalism is polyphonic. One religious way is explored as another is heard and explored in its turn, and there are many more I haven't mentioned. We may be a single community, but we are far from a single-minded religious group, listening to one melody only and fitting in some simple chords to accompany it harmoniously. We revel in our complicated identity. Each individual melody is still recognizable as we listen to each other's spiritual explorations. And we often join in, although we are carefully conscious not to appropriate others' faiths. It may be that sometimes we seem like the students of Harry Potter's Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where they sing the school song using the same words, but each person sings to a different tune and in a different speed. You remember that? That's polyphony, but with a vengeance. In the end, I think Lord Peter Wimsey says it right to Harriet Vane in Gaudy Night, Dorothy L. Sayers' novel. Anybody can have the harmony if they will leave us the counterpoint. He was talking about love relationships, but we can apply the quotation to our shared UU faith. For me, counterpoint, the polyphony, rings true here at BVUUF. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to sing together, and today we're going to be led by Michaela. This is her big debut as song leader. So, we're going to sing number 197 in your gray hymnal. There are numerous strings. What else should we say about that, Michaela?
It begins with the chorus. And Tad is going to play that through once so we know what the chorus sounds like because it's new to all of us. And then we will sing through the chorus twice before we go on to the verses. And then we'll go back to the chorus between each verse.
Perfect.
3 verses.
Please rise in body or spirit. 197.
There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Then when you smite your chords, my heart will break its silence, and my heart will be one with your song. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Amidst your numberless stars, let me place my own little lamp. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. In the dance of your festival of lights, my heart will throb and my life will be one with your smile. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them.
Tori. Eric. Yeah. Okay. So each week we remind ourselves of the abundance of our lives and this community by giving half our plate away to those organizations that share our values. Today the half plate is for Right Relationship Boulder, RRB. RRB are Indigenous and non-Native people working to support Indigenous people's connection to the land, to raise Indigenous voices, and to practice right relationships. RRB's land group collaborates with Indigenous peoples to broaden their access to lands in the Boulder Valley, to ensure their input on development decisions, and welcome their presence in their Boulder Valley homelands. This summer, a group of 50 youth and 10 elders will come for a week to share wisdom and traditional skills with one another. Christine Shinaga Itano is our contact if you want more information. So you can text your donation to the number on the screen, or if you're in the fellowship today, you can place a donation in the offering plate as it passes. Please give generously. And as our musical reflection begins, we invite you to reflect upon and write in the chat, if you're on Zoom, your answer to this question. How can we further right relationship with all those whose traditions and experiences differ from our own?
For the work of this fellowship, bringing love, reason, compassion, and justice to this broken world, we accept these offerings. And on behalf of Right Relationship Boulder, amen. "20 years ago, I spent a week in the town of Ramallah on the west bank of the Jordan River in what could be called Palestine, except as we all know, there is no internationally recognized Palestine. Israel has occupied the West Bank since 1947. I was there as part of a network news crew sent to document the arrival of Yasser Arafat's body being returned home from France, where he had died. Yasser Arafat had been the leader of the Palestinians in one form or another for 35 fraught years. To most Palestinians, the arrival of his remains was tantamount to a saint's relics being returned, and our network wanted us there to record the event. And what an event it turned out to be, but that's a story for another time. First slide, please. I've always wanted to say that. First slide, please. This is a shot of my colleagues at the wall separating much of the West Bank from Israel proper. Our videographer, not surprisingly, is the one in the photo vest, and our producer reporter is in the green shirt. He was a Mideast expert, having served for years as the Cairo bureau chief for a major news network. I was the sound tech and crew snapshot taker because this was before selfies. As chance would have it, we were in Ramallah in the middle of Ramadan, as Claire Marie mentioned, the holiest month of the Islamic calendar. From the first sighting of the crescent moon in the 9th month of the Islamic calendar to the next crescent moon, Muslims are required to fast between sunrise and sunset every day for a month. No food, no water. Only those whose health would be in jeopardy are exempt. There is much more to the holy month of Ramadan than that, but that alone should impress. Nearly 2 billion Muslims all over the world doing for a month something so difficult I have never attempted it for a single day. Not fasting, but going without water. This is where my story converges with Claire Marie's elegant metaphor of polyphony among different faiths, while we each live in our own separate but intertwining melodies. I still remember encounters with the people there when I felt discordant, out of touch. I know I miss chances to be in tune with my fellow human beings, however subtly. Here's the easiest example to talk about. Next slide, please. We were recording little street scenes around town where we found this little boy and an elder making something like falafels, except they're kind of long. After we filmed their process, the elder offered me a sample right out of the fryer. It was late afternoon. They wouldn't eat these treats until after sunset, and they gave one to me, expecting me to do the same. Hungry and oblivious, I took a big bite right then. The boy's eyes got even bigger than they are in this photo, and he said with obvious dismay, "He ate it!" I knew immediately I had blown it. I had missed an opportunity to share a moment of generosity from them and of gratitude from me. The next regret I have is a little harder to talk about. It was customary for our crew to have dinner together after a day of work. We were good friends, and we always had wine before, during, and after dinner. We liked wine. For me back then, it wasn't exactly optional. So, next slide. So here we are in a restaurant favored by foreigners, drinking goblets of wine during Ramadan. Most of you probably know that alcohol is strictly forbidden in Islam anytime, let alone during the holy month of Ramadan. The big guy enjoying some mild tobacco, that's just shisha, mild tobacco in that hookah he's smoking. He's not having any wine. He is a Palestinian fixer, Luai. He was a local TV producer, known and loved around town, great guy. Later that week, shots were fired into that restaurant after it closed for the night. No one was hurt. It was a warning. Everyone understood. Stop serving alcohol. So management switched to serving their wine in teacups. Problem solved. More dissonance against the melodies of faith playing around us. My third harmonic clash of that trip is the hardest to talk about, and it still stings 20 years later. On a flight from Beirut to Amman, Jordan, I was sitting next to an Egyptian father traveling with his kids. His English was fluent. We started talking. We shared a laugh. We were hitting it off nicely when I ordered a scotch, as I used to do on airplanes. He immediately froze, looked straight ahead, and didn't acknowledge me for the rest of the flight. It bothered me then, and it still bothers me now. My habit, my cultural indifference, struck such discord in what might have been a chance for connection, for the music of our common humanity to flow between us. What had I lost in those moments? What greater harm might have grown over time from the seeds of that dissonance? What greater good might have grown if I had been more disciplined? If even the smallest events can subtly change the world, what had I done to improve it? My mind has the unfortunate habit of offering me mostly painful memories, little darts, I call them. Sometimes they come in a fusillade. Regrettable moments like the ones I just described. Rarely can I remember the good times from this trip or any other. The shared music, the warm hugs, the goodwill, the music of humans connecting across faiths and cultures. But they happened. Lots. I wish they came to mind more easily. Next slide, please. And our little crew, here we are in front of the Wailing Wall a little bit later in that trip in Jerusalem. We came away even better friends than before. And we really did practice polyphony every time we worked together, each with our own separate but intertwined melody. We went on to work together a lot, but that too is another story for another time. Namaste. Now I invite us into a time of, Now I invite us into our time of community connection, our time of sacred sharing. If you're on Zoom and you'd like to share a joy or concern, please type it into the chat window, sending it to everyone and let us know briefly what is in your heart today. I will read out loud what you share, and Claire Marie will add a stone to our sacred waters on your behalf. If you're in the sanctuary today, you can come up front, share your joy or concern using the microphone, holding it straight out in front of you, and add a stone to the waters. Or you can add a stone in silence. Wherever you are, please tell us your name when you share. Okay. And Claire Marie, please put in last stones for the inconceivable suffering in Gaza right now, as homelessness, starvation, and death haunt so many, and for the Israelis who much watch their country sink into a war that will help no one. And one last stone for any joys and concerns that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, knowing that even in our silence, we are bound together in the web of life. I'm going to get a drink of water. Thank you for dimming my mic while I was drinking. Beloveds, we hear your voices, your sorrows, your joys. I offer a simple prayer of healing for all of us gathered here this morning. A prayer for UUs, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. A prayer for pagans, humanists, agnostics, and atheists, and for Buddhists, Hindus, and all faiths. We can say it to the sky. We can say it to the moon, to the sun, to our own beating hearts, to the spirit of life. We can say it to the music, to the interwoven melodies, to our ears that hear and our minds that listen. We can say thank you. Thank you. Thank you, love. Thank you, life. Thank you, this beautiful sanctuary. Thank you, Reverend Lydia, who has left, and thank you, Reverend Terry, who has arrived. But most of all, thank you all. Through all of us in this resilient community of love, thank you. Amen.
We'll now sing together one more time a beautiful song of gratitude. I think one of the most beautiful songs in our hymnal. This is number 128, For All That Is Our Life. 128 in the gray hymnal. Michaela will help us sing this through. Please rise in body or spirit.
For sorrow we must bear,
Now please join me in extinguishing the chalice. And do we have a slide for that? Yes. So please say the words with me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Shall we rise for the benediction and join hands, if you wish, or cross arms?
Go ahead.
I got it.
Okay.
No, I don't need it. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add mine among them.
Amid the numberless stars, let me place my own little lamp. Go in peace, and may your lamps not be blown out.